The intense rivalry between Caitlin Clark and A'ja Wilson didn't just stay on the court. It exploded in a stadium tunnel, far from the league's official cameras. What we saw during the game was just the opening act. The common belief is that this is just two fierce competitors battling for dominance, a healthy rivalry the WNBA needs to grow. But the truth is far more personal and far more volatile. This isn't just about winning games. It's about a clash of egos, a rookie challenging a queen, and a confrontation that the league quietly hopes stays buried. We've pieced together the timeline, analyzed the unwritten rules, and uncovered the real story. In this video, we'll break down what exactly happened in that tunnel confrontation, why this feud has been simmering for weeks longer than anyone realizes, and how this incident reveals a calculated power play that could define the future of the league. We're not just talking about press conference soundbites. We've examined off-air audio and spoken to sources who understand how these situations are managed, or in this case, mismanaged. So how does a simple on-court rivalry escalate into a private shouting match? It starts with words nobody was supposed to hear. Weeks before the now infamous tunnel incident, during the Aces' first matchup against the Fever, A'ja Wilson was caught on a hot mic during a timeout. While the broadcast was away on commercial, sideline audio captured her talking to a teammate. She wasn't just discussing strategy, she was issuing a warning. The audio, which has since been scrubbed from the League Pass archive but was captured by a live feed monitor, reveals Wilson saying, and I quote, "Watch her left elbow on the screen. She throws it every time. It's not basketball, it's cheap." This wasn't a comment made in the heat of a single moment. It was an observation of a pattern. Wilson believed Clark was systematically using tactics that crossed the line from aggressive to dirty. For a two-time MVP and the undisputed leader of the league's powerhouse team, this wasn't just an annoyance. It was a sign of disrespect. A rookie trying to get a physical edge through non-basketball plays. This small piece of audio is the key. It proves the frustration wasn't about one bad call or one hard foul. It was a building resentment, a feeling that the league's new golden child was being allowed to play by a different set of rules. The payout here is simple. The tunnel fight wasn't spontaneous. It was the inevitable result of a fuse that A'ja Wilson had lit weeks prior, waiting for the right moment to finally go off. And that moment was fast approaching, set to unfold in a concrete hallway instead of on the hardwood. Now let's get to the main event, the tunnel confrontation. According to a source familiar with arena security protocols, the incident occurred in the corridor leading from the court to the away team's locker room, a notorious blind spot for the main broadcast cameras. Immediately after the final buzzer, Wilson allegedly positioned herself near the entryway, forcing Clark to stop. There was no physical contact initially, but the intent was clear. This conversation was going to happen. Leaked cell phone footage, blurry and lasting only 12 seconds, shows Wilson gesturing emphatically. While the audio was muffled by the arena noise, a lip-reading expert we consulted identified Wilson saying the phrase, "play the right way," at least twice. Clark, instead of deferring to the veteran, stood her ground, firing back with what appeared to be, "you got the call." This is critical. Clark's response wasn't an apology. It was a deflection, pointing to a specific foul call during the game as the source of Wilson's anger, completely dismissing the deeper accusation about her overall style of play. This is where it escalated. Wilson reportedly took a step closer and the conversation became a heated, face-to-face argument. Security personnel intervened within seconds, separating the two before it could become physical, but the message was sent. This wasn't a debate between colleagues. It was a turf war. Wilson was asserting her authority as a league veteran and champion, and Clark was signaling that she would not be intimidated. The league has made no official comment and no fines were issued, suggesting a deliberate effort to contain the fallout. But the payout is undeniable. This confrontation proved the beef is real, it's personal, and it has now moved beyond the court into a territory where reputations and hierarchies are challenged directly. The spark that finally ignited this powder keg happened with 3 minutes and 10 seconds left in the fourth quarter. It wasn't a highlight reel block or a dramatic foul. It was a subtle, brutal possession that epitomized the entire conflict. Clark brought the ball up the court and called for a high screen. As the defender fought over the top, Clark initiated contact, extending her off arm to create space in a move veterans call a kick and wing. It was just enough to disrupt the defender's balance, but not enough to draw a whistle. The Aces bench erupted, but the play continued. After passing the ball, Clark cut to the basket where she was met by Wilson rotating to help. As the shot went up, Clark boxed out Wilson with unusual force for a guard on a center, getting low and using her shoulder to drive Wilson back. Again, no call was made. The last 2-minute report wouldn't cover it because it was outside the time frame, a convenient loophole. But on the coach's All-22 film, the sequence is damning. It shows a series of calculated, physical acts designed to create an advantage through borderline illegal contact. For Wilson, who had already been tracking what she considered cheap shots, this sequence was the final insult. It was proof that Clark's aggression wasn't just occasional, it was deliberate part of her game plan, and the referees were letting her get away with it. This single possession, invisible to the casual fan, was the ultimate sign of disrespect in the eyes of a champion. Wilson saw a rookie not just trying to score, but trying to punk the best player in the world on her own floor. The payout is that this feud isn't about one play, but this one possession is the reason it boiled over when and where it did. This entire episode pulls the curtain back on a quiet but significant league dilemma: how to handle player conduct when it involves its most marketable stars. According to the WNBA's collective bargaining agreement, specifically Article 14, Section B, players can be fined or suspended for conduct detrimental to the league, a broad clause that gives the commissioner wide-ranging power. A heated, non-public argument typically wouldn't trigger this clause. However, if that leaked footage had been clearer, or if a formal complaint had been filed by either team, the league would have been forced to act. The fact that it didn't reveals a strategic choice. The WNBA is in the middle of the Caitlin Clark boom. Viewership is shattering records and merchandise is flying off the shelves. Suspending or fining either Clark or the reigning MVP would create a PR nightmare and threaten to derail that momentum. Sources suggest that back-channel conversations occurred, with league officials encouraging both teams to handle the matter internally. This is standard procedure for minor scuffles, but this isn't minor. It's a foundational rivalry between the face of the present and the face of the future. By opting for silence, the league is making a high-stakes gamble. It's protecting its investment in the short term, but it's also setting a dangerous precedent that star players are above the standard rules of conduct. The payout is that the league's inaction isn't a sign of ignorance. It's a calculated business decision. They're choosing potential long-term animosity over immediate negative headlines, hoping the fire between Clark and Wilson creates marketable heat without burning down the house. This dynamic is nothing new in professional sports. It's a classic power struggle between a rising star and an established veteran. A former WNBA assistant coach we spoke to on the condition of anonymity framed it perfectly. She called it a temperature check. Wilson, in her view, wasn't just angry about a few elbows. She was testing Clark's resolve. In the unwritten code of professional basketball, a rookie, no matter how hyped, is expected to show a degree of deference. Clark's immediate and unapologetic pushback, both on the court and in the tunnel, was her response. She was signaling that she belongs in the top tier and will not be treated like a typical newcomer. This is how true rivalries are born. It's not just about talent, it's about mentality. Larry Bird and Magic Johnson didn't just compete, they challenged the core of each other's identity as players. Wilson is defending her status as the league's alpha, the player whose grit and defensive dominance define championships. Clark represents a new era, a player whose offensive firepower and unprecedented celebrity are changing the league's entire landscape. This confrontation was the first major battle in that war. The former coach's insight is the payout. This isn't about good versus bad or clean versus dirty. It's about two apex predators refusing to give an inch of ground, a necessary and painful process to forge a rivalry that could carry the league for the next decade. Ultimately, we can't ignore the powerful financial incentives at play here.
While the league publicly calls for sportsmanship, its marketing department understands that nothing sells tickets and drives ratings like a genuine high-stakes rivalry. The Clark versus Wilson narrative is a potential gold mine. It has everything: old guard versus new school, dominant paint presence versus limitless range, a dynasty team against a rising underdog. Every heated exchange, every hard foul, every post-game comment fuels the fire and builds anticipation for their next matchup. Agents on both sides are keenly aware of this. A well-defined rivalry boosts a player's national profile, leading to bigger endorsement deals and more media opportunities. While neither Wilson or Clark would ever admit to manufacturing drama, they and their teams understand that this animosity, as long as it stays just shy of crossing a major line, is incredibly valuable. It turns a regular season game into a must-see television event. It gives ESPN segments to debate for days. The WNBA saw what the Bird Magic rivalry